Hello and welcome back to the workshop. Today we're going to learn how to apply multiple different materials to a single mesh using Blender's legendary Suzanne, the monkey's head who has seen more test renders than any of us care to admit. I'm going to show you how to give different parts of her surface different materials, so maybe gold on the face, neon pink ears, whatever gets the point across. Now, speaking of Suzanne, she should be arriving any second now, but unfortunately she is being brought in by my assistant, who moves like they've got a flat battery and 12 frames per second limit. Honestly, if they were any slower, they'd be going backwards. So whilst they finish whatever epic journey they're on, let's just dive into Blender and get things rolling ourselves, shall we? So let's open up Blender. And before we get into any modeling, we're just going to have a play with materials and how to apply multiple materials to one object. So let's come up to add, okay, and mesh, and we'll play around with the monkey, or Suzanne as she's called. There we go. Now I'm just going to open up my sidebar and get my screencast keys going so you guys can see what I'm doing. And I'm also going to minimize that. Hide the timeline by making the crosshair and dragging it over the timeline. There we go. So my screencast keys are just down here in the bottom right. In fact, let me move it because we'll be playing with the material properties. Where are we going? Let's put it over here. So it'll be on the left-hand side, okay? Cool. So, welcome. This is Suzanne. We've seen her before, okay? She's a primitive shape, and she's made up of a fairly complex, but nothing too special, bunch of topology to give us this effect, okay? And we want to bring her to life. If I come up here to the top right to the material preview mode, you'll notice she has nothing attached to her, no materials whatsoever. So how do we apply materials to our mesh? Well, first thing we want to do is come across to the materials properties, which is just down here. Give that one a click and you'll see this scene. At the minute, it's completely empty. Now, when you open Blender, this is a default project, as you can see, nothing's saved. You automatically get one material and that's it. If I just click on that material, it now sets Suzanne as whatever this material is. So the base color is white. Let's just change it to a nice sort of orangey color, nice soft color. There we go. And you can see the first material that we add to our mesh is defaulted to the entire of the mesh, okay? So what we want to do is we want to add a bit of detail, such as the nose, the mouth, the eyes, okay? And what we can do here is, if you see on the right-hand side, we've got a plus and a minus. I want to add, well, we want the eyes to be white, we'd like the pupils to be black, the nose to be black. Let's give her some nice red lips, and let's maybe change her ear color to a pinky color. So that's that white, black, that's 2. Red is 3, pink is 4. So let's add 4 slots. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, if you accidentally add one too many, you can hit the minus symbol and it'll get rid of it. If I come up to the top, now first one, let's just rename it. Now for this course, we will use a naming convention just to keep everything neat and tidy. It also helps when taking it into other softwares such as Unreal Engine or Unity. And we'll call this one M for material, skin will do, because it's going to be her base skin. Or we could just call it orange or whatever you want. So for this one, we'll create a new, and let's call this black. And let's change the color, base color, by clicking on it. You get your wheel just here. You can change your values below if you're happier with that, or if you know the hex color, you can put it in just here. We're just going to use the slider. Let's go down to black. So I never go fully black because it acts weird with light in certain programs. I always just bring it up a little bit. There we go. We want a white. And that one's good. We want a nice lipstick. So let's go for red, or maybe not lipstick, maybe just a natural sort of pinky-ish lip color. So we'll go for red, but we'll make it, maybe that sort of color will be nice. And for the ears, we'll give her a nice pink ear. So, pink. Or we can even just do ears. It's up to you. Now, I've gone for colors for these and skin, so let's just change it. Say they're all the same. So, what's that? That's like an orange. Okay. You call these whatever you want, doesn't really matter, but it is nice to keep the same naming convention just so when you take them into another software, you know what's a material. Just looking at the file directory or looking from external source, M means material. So how do we apply these materials to our character? Well, the first thing we want to do is click on Suzanne, okay, go into edit mode, and I'm going to use face select mode for this. We're going to select the faces we want to apply. So let's start with the mouth. So I'm going to click on this bit down here, this part of the lip, and press the period or delete or full stop button on your numpad. And that'll just bring us into view to the mouth. Okay, and now we want to select all the faces that we would like to be red. So let's go around. Now I can go shift and click like so, all the way around. And you can see that takes a while, but it's nice and everything stays selected. If I just shift and click here, we know that this is going to accept a loop cut. It's a nice loop of geometry. So I can come along a few and press Control and select, and you'll notice it joins automatically between them. And this is very useful for selecting quickly. Okay, so with the faces selected that we would like to apply a new material to, we can come across, select the material that we've created and assign. And look at that, we've already started to add some flavor. Now we've got a white here, so maybe we can do her teeth with white. There we go. And she's already looking a lot better. So let's do the rest. Let's do the nose first next, as it's next in line. So I'm going to hit the full stop on the numpad. And we're going to select all the faces that we want, holding Control to just select along the geometry. Shift. So you'll just alternate between Shift and Control, and you'll get used to this. If you're not sure how I'm moving around the scene, how I'm navigating around Blender, I'll put a tutorial just here for you that we've done already. You can go and follow along in that, and it will just update you and get you up to scratch with navigating inside Blender. And this is essential to be able to do all of this smoothly and comfortably. So I'm just going to select the remaining faces. Yeah, that looks good to me. That's her nose selected, and we'll go for a black this time and assign. Yep, looking good. We'll come to the eyes last. Let's do the ears next. So there is another way to select, and it's to press the C button, okay, and you can see we get this sort of circle. If I use the middle mouse button, you'll notice it get bigger and smaller. Now we're not going to be able to move around our scene with this selected, so you have to sort of do a few faces at a time and then move around. But what this enables us to do, with just the mouse button on the left click, we can just select quite a few faces by painting over, and this is quite nice. And if I want to select that one, I can just come in like that. Okay, we'll go for that one too. In fact, I'm going to shift and unselect those two, and I'm actually going to go around the edge. I don't want these ones selected. We just want to be pink on the inside. If she was a real monkey, she'd have fur, wouldn't she, on the outside of her ear. So we'll just go for those inside faces. Make sure they're all selected. Missed one there. Missed a few there. Now I've run out of zoom. You can see I'm scrolling. You can see down here I am using the mouse wheel, but nothing's happening. And that sometimes happens. What you need to do is just reset your view. Press the full stop on your numpad. It resets that view, and now I can zoom in and zoom back out. And it also centers it in our viewport, which is quite nice. Cool. So with those selected, we can select this pink. I'm going to just assign it for now. And it's white because I forgot to set the color. That's not a problem. Now that those faces have that material assigned to them, if I come over here and we select a color, whatever we want, you can see it changing real time in your viewport, and this is lovely. So let's just go for a nice pinky color. Cool. Let's go and do the other ear together. So I'm just going to select one of these faces and press full stop on my numpad and press C. Okay. And we're just going to select all of these faces again. I'm just going to use my mouse wheel just to make it a little bit easier to come out of this view. Or if you don't like what you've selected, so say if I've selected these two, you can use the right mouse button. Sorry, you can use the middle mouse button to deselect them. The right mouse button brings you out of it so you can navigate around Blender again. I just want to compare. So I did do these outside ones, including this inner part of the ear. So we'll do the same here. And this time I'm going to shift and then control select all the way around like so. Looking good. Missed one there. I think there's some in here that we've missed as well. Yep. Cool. So there's all those faces selected. Come over to pink and assign. Looking good. And now let's sort these eyes out. So I'm going to do, I think we'll do white first. So let's do the outer eye. So I'll select this face and work my way around. You'll notice it does clip through, but I'll show you your first modifier. I'll show you a modifier in a minute to make Suzanne look better, and it will just remove some of this funkiness that's going on. Select that one. Ooh, there's a little bit of one there. A little bit of a funk there. Yep, that looks good. If we miss anything, we can always come back later and just apply some more materials. Looks good. Let's do that one. That one. Cool, that one's selected. Yep, and those are going to be white. And then now I'm going to use that selection like so, cursor selection, to select those two. And I just aimed for the middle like so, and it just selected all of the faces around because I am in face select mode. And then what we'll do is if I just hold the mouse here, so if you remember when we did loop cuts, let me just show you with Control and R. You notice if I go this way, so I'm on this edge, the loop goes along like so, okay? And then if I come up to this edge, you can see the loop goes around, and that's the direction those faces go. If I just right click to stop that a second, we can select them almost the same way that we would loop cuts by holding Alt. So if I could bring my mouse over to this edge, not this one, not this long one here or this long one here, come to one of these shorter edges, they'll direct it around the correct way by pressing Alt and left mouse button click. You'll see it selects all the way around. Now I'm going to undo that. We've already got some faces selected, so let's just color them in black. Perfect. And then I'm going to do what I just showed you. So Alt, left mouse button click, and then let's come over to the other eye and hold Shift, Alt, and left mouse button click just to select those as well. With black selected, let's hit assign, and voila. We now have a fairly good looking Suzanne. You happy with that? Awesome. Now, we can see, oh, I've made a mistake. That's fine. So let's sort that out. Just select that face. It was orange. We can undo that. It doesn't overlay materials. If you replace a face with another material, it just replaces it. So she's looking good, but we have got some issues with this model with clipping parts. So we can fix that. Let's try these options. So if I right click, you've got these shading options: shade smooth, auto smooth, and flat. If I click on smooth, it looks a bit better, and it just smooths out some of those hard edges. Okay, adds a curve there. It doesn't actually add the curve there, it just sort of renders it out as a curve. Doesn't look the best, so let's see what else we've got. Auto smooth. She still looks very, very, very low poly. Might be the style you're going for, but you can notice that it does sort of smooth out faces that are in the same sort of area. And like around here, you've got something that looks quite smooth, but we've still got these hard edges. And then if we go to shade flat, we're back to where we were. So I'll introduce you to our first modifier, and this is just to make Suzanne look a little bit better. It's not beneficial. You wouldn't normally do this every time you apply materials, but it will just bring her to life. So if we come across to the modifiers tab and go to add modifier and come down to generate, we've got this one called subdivision surface, and we'll cover most of these in edit, generate, and deform in this course. But right now we're going to focus on subdivision surface, and look at that. With one click, she's already looking better. That funkiness around her eyes has disappeared, and if I now right click and shade smooth, she looks great. I mean, you can play with these. They give slightly different. That's quite a nice look. Gives a little bit of a harder edge. Or if you want flat, it just looks like a low poly model, just a little bit rounder. And what this does, if I go into edit mode, if I apply this first, go into edit mode, you can see it's added lots more loop cuts and geometry to our mesh. Okay, subdivision's amazing, but you've got to be careful because it can add lots of geometry to your mesh. But for this material preview, I'll go to shade smooth. It does look great. So that's how you would apply multiple materials to a single object or a single mesh. Okay, so go and import a Suzanne into your scene, add some materials, and have a play. Let's see what you can come up with. And then in the next lesson, we'll create a cube together. We'll turn that cube into a crate, and then we will texture that crate. When it comes to texturing, you're going to use a couple of materials, maybe one for wood, maybe one for metal. We'll apply a texture to our material, and then we'll apply those to our model. Now, before we leave today, I just want to show you a little bit more in depth about the materials properties. So everything here, you've got a few options. You've got metallic and you've got roughness. If we come down to white and we have a look at the roughness, so 0 is always, it's nothing, it's not being applied, and then a value of 1 means it fully is rough, or it's not rough if it's 0. So at the minute, it's about halfway. So in material preview mode, if we just look at the eyes, you can see they're pretty rough. If I turn them down, there you go. It's sort of like if we were applying this to a crate, that would be like plastic, almost like PVC, okay? So it's quite nice. We get a nice glossy feeling to the eyes, which is what we want. Now, with the roughness all the way down as well, if I pump the metallic up, you can see it goes like stainless steel, like aluminium, or aluminum for my American friends. This is great for some things, but for eyes, it's definitely not what we're looking for. Not unless you're making a cyborg monkey. So let's turn that one all the way down. Now this is very simple. This is the simple version of our material editing. What we're going to go into the next lesson, I'm just going to come up to the top left until I get a crosshair. So I'm in the 3D viewport, just in the corner. You can do this in any corner, okay? So we'll do it down here as well. I can just drag along and make a new window. Going to duplicate the 3D viewport. So let's open up the shader editor by clicking on this menu option just here. And in the shader editor, okay, we'll go into this in textures quite a lot throughout the course. I'm just going to end to hide that sidebar. Every single editor's got its own sidebar. If I press T, it's got its own toolbar. But if I just zoom into the principal BSDF, and this is the basic, this is the node that powers a lot of Blender. This is very useful, and we'll deep dive into this in future lessons. But if you look at this, so we've got base color, metallic, okay? So they're the same. So this is the shader that you have got connected to the surface of your material output, okay? So there's lots of different options. We've got to add shader, got all these different shaders here. They all do different things. And depending whether you plug it into the surface or the volume or the displacement or the thickness, you'll get different results within your viewport. We're not going to worry about that in this lesson. I just wanted to show you that this node here, this principled BSDF, okay, is what's being powered over here. And you'll notice that when I click on these little colored dots, it gives me some options just here. So if I click on base color and click on that, I can go even further into this, adding different textures, like image textures, okay? And then to show you what that does, without clicking it there, I can just drag off the base color, right, image texture, okay? And choose color. And you'll notice that it adds in a option to bring in or create a new texture, okay? Which is a little bit different to materials. But what we end up doing in the rest of this course is we'll be creating some dynamic textures. We'll use lots. For the metallic, we'll have a texture. For the roughness, we'll have a texture. For the normals, we'll have a texture, and so much more, okay? And all of these will plug into the material, and all of the materials will be displayed on our character. You'll notice the eyes have gone black, and that's just because we've got an image texture that has nothing connected to it. So I just undo that and delete this, and it goes back to normal. So I'm just going to close this shade editor by finding the crosshair and dragging over the one I don't want, like so. And you can have a play with these values, see what you can come up with. I'll leave the metallic for now. I like the roughness pretty low for the white. Let's use the black. Let's do the black now. So let's bring the roughness down for the black. Because eyes are quite glossy because they're wet, aren't they? They're lubricating, so is the nose. The lips maybe, we could bring that down a slight bit. There we go. And I think that looks good. So go and have a play, see what you can come up with, see if you can make Suzanne happy, and we'll get together in the next lesson to learn all about textures.